Bueno, mi segundo slide favorito antes del speaker, porque quiero agradecerle a toda la gente que son parte del equipo de CreativeMornings Guadalajara, que nos ayudan a que esto siga funcionando, que están aquí desde bien temprano, a todo el equipo, de verdad, muchísimas gracias por hacer que todo esto salga cada mes. Gracias. Un aplauso, por favor. Minimal. El diseñador es Andrew Neyer. Fue elegido el tema por el capítulo de Arcus, que está en Dinamarca. Esa es la ilustración que hicieron para ilustrar nuestro tema. Y sin más, yo le quiero dar la bienvenida a Andrew, que está aquí. Un aplauso, por favor.
All right, buenos dias. Buenos dias. Gracias. This is Susanna. Fantastico. I don't know, can you turn those lights off? Por favor, can you turn the back lights off? First off, thank you for Creative Mornings to have me here. It's a real privilege. I don't know what I'm really going to talk about. I think first thing we should do is change Creative Mornings to Creative Evenings. I don't know how many creative people are good in the mornings. I'm a bit like Dracula or like a bat. I'm really bad in the mornings. So, yeah, can we go full screen? Por favor. Okay. So, this is going to be quick because we all have to go to work, I hope. This is a poster I saw when I was in art school, and I used to pass by it every day, going to school and coming back from school. And it's all thousands and thousands of sheep falling off this cliff. And right in the middle here is this one little sheep, and it's saying, pardon, pardon, pardon. Which okay, so yeah, that's kind of funny. But over years and years of thinking about this and seeing this poster, it came to really represent sort of my vision for myself in terms of design and in terms of how I approach creative, how I look at what's happening around me. I look at these sheep today and I think about this is our society, this is what we're all doing. We're all kind of running and falling off this cliff together as people in many ways, from environment to design to creative. I think out of fear, we hold on to too much technology. So I'm kind of the opposite. I don't do Twitter because I personally don't think I have anything really worthwhile to say on Twitter, though other people do, which amazes me. So, you know, last night I was talking to someone with Twitter and they were saying this one person, she just takes pictures of what she eats all day.
So we're going to talk about sheep tricks. Okay. Reduction equals clarity. I like the idea of thinking about your brain. Okay, think about your brain as a space. And right now we're being bombarded by so much information, so much stuff. Okay, and think of it as like a football game. Okay, how many players aside are there on a football team? Like each side. So on the there's 22 people playing. Okay, so imagine that's your brain. Imagine if it was like 4 times that. So imagine there was like 88 players and you had 4 goaltenders and you have to play a game. It's impossible, right? So I always think about how do you free up space. So this is something that you have to do. You got to think about as a designer or as someone who's creative. How do you do that? We eliminate certain things. You don't have to check your fucking email every 2 minutes and go on Facebook and all that stuff. It's all about clearing the space in your head. And you got to also think about time. I always think about time. This is your time. We're bombarded by so much things and hitting us all the time. So it's your time. You have the opportunity to make your own space and make your own time. I always think of it as if you can control things, make an effort to control. Let's say you had to fly somewhere and it's a long distance flight to, let's say, Europe or Asia. Imagine, okay, what would you rather have? Would you rather sit in economy with the sheep, right? Or would you rather sit up in first class in one of those pods and stretch out and have some more room around you? Well, I tell you, the pod is the way to go. It's true. It really is. And once you fly in a pod, you'll never go back. So all about clarity and reducing things down. These are a couple of my students from Paris. I just want to talk about the girl on the left. And she came to class. She didn't have a computer. She didn't have a phone. And she didn't even have paper. So she drew directly onto magazines that she stole. And she painted with like shitty paint, like kids paint. And she did this poster on the left. Now the other student did the one on the right. And it's all about energy and new economy. But the one on the left, I thought was very, very humanistic, right? And it's very simple and natural. And there was no technology surrounding it. But what was really great, you can see these drawings on the left. She would do that like in the morning, and then she'd clear the table, and she'll do another table full in the afternoon. Her ideas were just flowing. And you know why? It's because her head was nice and open. She didn't cloud it with bullshit and crap, all right? It's true. It's really true. Well, at least I think so. Now, just say no. We're all saying yes. We're all saying yes all the time. People are saying, well, can you do this? Can you look at this email? Look at this, and can you do this? And everyone's saying, yeah, because out of fear, like the sheep going off the cliff. I recently started to say no. And guess what? It's good. It's a good thing to say no. And it's amazing, too, because when you say no, you have control. And control is really good in terms of your space, in terms of creativity. The other thing is deadlines. We all work within deadlines, okay? We work for clients that have deadlines. We work for an advertising agency, or we have our boss or whatever, whoever we work for that has deadlines. I don't think deadlines are real. I think they're imposed on us. I think it's bad time management. Really? So I like to say no. Some clients say, we want to see this tomorrow. And I say, why? I'd rather give it to you tomorrow afternoon or the next day, and it's done right. And you have to fight for that. And that's a little bit gutsy, but it works. Trust me. Now, out of all this, with your work and your life, you've got to play. Your brain has to have this little area where it can play in. It needs to have a little play field. When you're a kid, I hope you go out and play and have fun with your friends, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I think you need to play. And beyond my life, I have my life, which isn't much of a life because I'm working all the time, okay? I try and do some little funny things, just sort of amuse myself. My friend gave me this little book of little cutout Elvises for Christmas. And he said, do something interesting with it. And I apologize for the people who've seen this a couple of nights ago here, but I'm going to show it again. So I was in Paris, and I brought Elvis with me. And I had very famous designers hold the little Elvis in front of famous architectural sites around the city. And you can see me on the left. And it's so simple. You just get your camera and take a picture of Elvis. And you can see him at the metro there. There's no Photoshop, just take pictures of little Elvis. And what's really interesting was taking the Elvis on the right in the gold lame, is I was taking pictures of him, but there was a group of people behind me taking pictures of me taking pictures of Elvis. And it wasn't like they're taking one picture, they're taking dozens of photos. And I'm thinking, you come all around the world to see the Eiffel Tower, and you're taking pictures of little Elvis. So I thought that was really cool. So Little E, I call him Little E. He comes to vacations as well. So this is in North Shore and Banzai Pipeline in Hawaii. And I only took the one Speedo because I thought he's on holiday too. And again, what's really strange is when you're taking pictures of little Elvis, people are looking at this adult man taking pictures of a little cardboard figure. It's really funny. The other thing is I've been known to be stupid and silly and wear my El Santo mask and cape, which I brought with me right here, and I will wear it later. But one of my students in the Iberoamericana in Mexico City, she says, well, that's my uncle. I said, pardon? She goes, yeah, I'm seeing him this afternoon. I'll have him sign your cape and your mask. I said, no manches. No manches. So anyway, so later the next day she came back and it's signed, and El Santo Hijo, El Santo blah, blah, blah. Gave me a little note, thank you very much, Andrew, for doing this, and it's all written on here, and I was just like thrilled. So my little funny, silly stint turned into something that was really cool, and he was really quite touched that I was wearing his El Santo mask in honor of his dad, and I thought that was really, and this was in, by the way, this was in La Paz, Bolivia last year. So here I am, a Canadian in South America, in Bolivia, wearing El Santo from Mexico. So kind of funny. This is really important. Working and thinking are two different things. So many people now have very bad working habits, and it's because of technology again. And I think, you know, we bombard ourselves with the minutia, the tiny details. You know, I like looking at the big picture and coming up with the bigger picture and then filling in the details. But because of technology, because it's detail driven, we go there first. So, for example, I want to see a forest. Well, people start to do each individual leaf, right? And then work on a branch to the tree. But no, let's look at the forest. And that's it's a silly, simple thing, but you know, when you are designing, it's something that, in my mind, you need to digest and think about what exactly are you doing for your client. The other thing is to do with receiving instructions and also giving instructions. I think we have, and this is the theme of minimal, I think what we've done now is cloud things up with so much information, we've forgotten the real core of it all, okay? And when you're designing, you need to know the core of it. I know it may not sound so eloquent. This is a little project. It's one of my favorite projects, and this was to do with the bilateral relations between Canada and Mexico. And what was interesting about this is that I had to work with two embassies, one in Ottawa, in Canada, and one in Mexico City. Now, in Ottawa, there was the ambassador, and he had a team of people, you know, probably 6 or 8 other people, and also I worked with the agency or the affiliate in Vancouver. And they all gave me their opinions. Like, it was interesting. They had a vision of what this should look like, the brand, the logo. Then I had to do a couple of conference calls in Mexico City with the ambassador there with her team. And it was interesting because her vision was the opposite to Canada's vision. So I had to go back and forwards. So if you can imagine, you know, this was the amount of time I spent on the project. Design was about that much. This was digesting and truly understanding what this whole project was about, and it's creating clarity. It's on the theme of minimal, is, you know, coming up with what represents Mexico graphically and what represents Canada. Canada is a very young country, so, and recognizable is the maple leaf, and there's nothing else you can really use. That's pretty obvious. We're simple people. There's nothing else. But Mexico is, man, there's so much you can use in terms of visuals for Mexico, but what's appropriate in terms of international recognition, okay? So using this sort of Maya kind of design, and here, the first thing that ever struck me when I first came to Mexico was the colors in the markets, the color everywhere, everything was like that vibrancy. So I think that was a great, I say it's a great solution, it's a solution that I came up with that I think represents our countries. Yeah, so, you know, we're like the sheep. We're running, and I beg you to stop. Just stop and have a look at your life as a designer, as an artist, even as a person, right? we're so busy trying to do the day-to-day stuff over and over and over and over again that you forget about the big picture. Like, what were you thinking 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last week? And where are you going to be in 5 years? How are you going to project yourself in terms of a creative person? That's the most important thing. And recently, last year, I put all the brakes on. I stopped working. I started to think to myself, what do I want to do? Where's my vision? And someone said to me, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I went, yeah, well, I don't know, designing. But then I had this idea, like, well, yeah, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And tonight, I want you to let that rumble around in your head. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Because you have to have a control over that. So in design, here's a good example of thinking about who you are, what your life is all about. I was doing a lecture in Paris, and they asked me to do a little poster for it. So on the left, I really love the fashion illustrations of Paris, okay? René Grau, other artists like that. So I started doing these little ink drawings. And then I remembered when I was 17, I was in school, I left school and I went to Paris by myself. And I found a little envelope of the original photographs I took. And there's one of the photographs there of the Eiffel Tower. And because of that, from years ago, I decided to sort of introduce that element into this sort of little drawing. And you can see the little head up in the corner there I used on the poster. So there was this sort of understanding of where I was. And especially when I was an art student, starving to death, literally. 1 month I ate cornflakes. That's all I ate when I lived in Toronto. It was over the winter. I just ate cornflakes. I had no money. So it's just historical perspective, and I think you got to stop and look at your life because you have a rich history. You have tapestry. You are fabric. That was my minor in school was textiles. So you are fabric. Like every stitch, you can put an extra stitch into your fabric. So this is part of that. Now, I like the idea of making the ordinary extraordinary. A lot of people think, let's go to New York, let's go somewhere else, and it's because it's bigger, it's better than here. Well, no, make it happen here, or find something that you can make even better. Here is the best example of that. Swatch watches. All right? These guys have been around for decades and decades, and they do these watches. But what drives the company? Design. Artists and designers, image makers create these watches, okay? And what I think is interesting is that the watch itself is a piece of crap. It's a piece of, they call it Swatch watches. They're made in China. Nothing wrong with China. But it's these plastic shitty watches. But what drives it is that people buy one, then they want to collect them. And what's doing it is design. So you're making an extremely ordinary product something that's fantastic through design, okay? And no one else can do that, all right? Accountants can't do that, people who own restaurants, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's the power of design, taking something that's very ordinary and making it extraordinary. I like the idea of big ideas from small places. I've always lived in small cities. I have lived in big cities, but generally speaking, I've lived close to bigger cities. I don't like being crowded around big cities, like going there and working. As a young person starting out, or as a creative person, this week I was taken out to this the coolest restaurant. Here comes an ad for a restaurant for you called Lazaro. Is that right? Lazaro? What? Lazaro? Lazaro. Yes. Now, he was a student here at this school, Salvador, and that was like 2002. I think I was the El Padrino of the graduating year, which was really funny, by the way. I was that. Anyway, he's done restaurants. Now he's opened up the coolest little restaurant, and it's a food truck and then a little tiny restaurant on the side. It's fresh, and he's so excited about it. And he said something to me. It was like, yes, you get it. He says, I could have moved to Mexico City and opened this up, but no, I want to do it here in Guadalajara because I want to make a difference. And I thought, man, that's exactly what it's about. That's how I feel. I want to make a difference. And here's an illustration of that. So New York City, I used to work in New York, is 8.3 million people. I live in Victoria, Canada, and we have 344,000 people. All right, that's probably in the neighborhood here in Guadalajara, basically. And what I always done is go and find little clients and work with them and grow and build their businesses. Taking a little pastry shop and branding them and then growing them and making them bigger and bigger. So, there's New York City. That's downtown New York City, and this is Victoria, right? There's no huge business, but I think it's great because I can have the opportunity to work with a client and develop their business and as a designer, make things better for the city and for the environment around me. And I think that's part of the responsibility. Oh yeah. Screw the client. Be the client. But I say this every day. Not to all my clients. Yeah. So be the client. All of us as designers or artists or creative people, we all work for clients. We work for a boss. We work for an advertising agency. And, we spend our time selling other people's products, other people's things, right? So I thought years ago, well, wait a second. I'm going to create my own thing, and I'm going to sell my own thing. I'm going to market it. I'm going to create it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to brand it. I'm going to market it. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to be it. And I tell you what's interesting. When you stand on the other side of the fence and you have to actually sell your thing and actually put your product out in the market, guess what? Your logo will be bigger, right? We're always saying, clients, make it bigger, you want a smaller logo. No, it's amazing. You want your logo bigger. And it's like, okay. So you got to do that. It's amazing we sell other people's products without actually having our own. So I've taken my work and I've teamed up with Vans and a printer in Canada. And I'm now using my work and developing a line of shoes. This is part of other things I'm working on. But I just want to show you some of the shoes. Some of my paintings, some of my graphics are going on the Vans. I love Vans. Actually, I got a pair on right now. Vans. And just doing that. And what's interesting is that every graphic has an atmosphere. It has a feeling. And some really connect with the public. Some really sell. But that one's really, really popular. That was for a poster in Moscow. And some don't. Some just sit, and some people don't order, so you have to change. So desire, that's basically what we are doing as creative people, artists, designers. We're selling desire. We're not selling nice designs or pretty pictures. So it's simple as this. You have a thing, you are in the middle, and you have a buyer. All right? It's pretty simple. You represent your client who has the thing, okay? But I also think, too, that you are representing the person who's going to purchase what you're selling. Like it's a theater ticket or it's or whatever it is. But you need to respect the people who are actually going to buy into what you are designing for. And that takes a lot of thinking. And again, it comes back to thinking versus working, okay? And you are basically becoming a marketing pimp, all right? You're pimping out your work in terms of creating a design that ultimately creates desire, okay? And we're talking about minimal, all right? And I just wanted to show you this project here in terms of creating a brand identity for a microbrewery in Canada. This is just some research I was doing, and the design work that's happening on beer labels is loud, it's noisy, and it's like all the sheep running off the cliff. Everyone's panicking. Everyone wants to be me too, me too, me too. And all the labels are so busy. There's noisy, and the messaging is like, it appeals to some people, fine. But I personally find it to be very loud, and it's messy in terms of design. It's bad design. It kind of contradicts. It is, some are, it's not my thing. And again, it's like the sheep. They're all trying to outdo each other, and it's noisy and it's loud and so on. So I was doing these for this new little brewery. I wanted something really, really simple, like the little sheep going in the opposite direction. So as opposed to all this color and all these noisy fonts and all this wanted to keep it just 2 colors and really simple. So I started to do these little drawings, and they're like little ink drawings, and you scratch it off with an X-Acto, and it was really cool because I haven't really done this for a little while, and it forced me to stop, and I just spent, like a day per drawing, just concentrating on something very different. So the labels are very simple. They're just different die cut, and but within the marketplace, you see these on the shelf compared to all those other noisy labels. It really stands out. And you can see how it works in bus shelters, and the different designs. The trucks that are around town, they're not these big noisy, all the type and, the Cerveza and all this. No, I wanted something that people go, what the fuck is that? Right? Sorry for the F word. But, and you're not putting any big taglines, you're not putting any sales things. It's very simple. And you can see it here in Vancouver for a billboard. And then that is Mi Parece Chicha, Winnie. And that's a poster in my house. And there you go. That's nice and quick, I hope. Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My
That's
pleasure.
great.